I know that there's a lot of information out there already on this, but I just want to give my take and maybe help somebody make a cam selection. I'm sure I can mess somebody up. A lot of people want to know, you know, I want to buy a cam for my car, but I really don't know. What should I get? And really only the owner of the car can answer that. What torque converter are you going to run? What's your gear and tire size? What's the weight of the vehicle? And most of all, what do you plan to use the car for? And don't forget compression. A 7-8-to-1 motor isn't going to like a lot of cam, like a 9-5-to-1. That compression is important when selecting a cam. And really, yeah, you can call a cam grinder and have him custom make you one, and that's a good way to go about it, but he's going to want to know this information. What if you don't want to call a cam grind shop and tell them, make me a cam, the best cam for me? What if you just want to pick something off the shelf? And there's really just a small amount of criteria I have to offer to help you make a selection. I'm not going to get into timing events of a camshaft and all that, and there's people way smarter than I am on cams. I'll just show you some of the basic features to cover the A, B, and C part of it to help you make a selection. First of all, understanding the lobe. This right here is a lobe. Okay. Duration. Duration, if this is my lobe, duration is the amount of time that valve is held open. Lift. Lift, how tall is that lobe? Yeah, that's the lift of it. And another thing that plays a big part is the center line. If it's a true street car and it's not going to see a ton of racing, it's going to be driven mostly normal use, I like that center line around 112. If it's 110 to 112, let's say, that center line, look at that. You know, a nice street cam to me is a 112 center line or a 110 center line, 220 duration at 50, 480 lift or 470 lift. That's really nice if you got 323 gears and a tight torque converter, and it's going to see mostly highway and cruising type use. And that's what my advice is on that. But these are the things that you have to look at and understand when you go to select a cam. It's just not as easy as saying, hey, I want a big cam. I want that lumpy sound when I sit at a stoplight. You may hate the cam soon after that. Sometimes just the best way to add some low-end spunk is to leave the original cam in there and recurve your distributor and pull some initial into it, and making sure that your timing set below is new and accurate and not full of slop and causing you some low end off the line snap when you go to pull that boat out of your. You know, you can add more low end snap sometimes by working with other things than doing a cam swap. Sometimes the best cam for your 4-wheel drive or your 3/4 ton pickup that's never going to see over 3,000 RPMs. It's just going to be driven normally. Sometimes your factory cam can work as good as any, and you're going to get more out of that than if you just up your lift and duration and that. And you might be able to buy a RV cam that adds a little bit to it. But my rule of thumb is if it's going to see mostly street use with a lot of highway gears, you want duration. Don't look at advertised. Look at 50. That's important. Duration at 50. I like that to be right around, well, maybe 218 to maybe a 226. And that'll do a lot more for people than somebody throwing in a 238 or 240 duration at 50 with a over 500 lift if they're running 276 gears or a 323 gear with a stock converter. People don't realize that. The difference in those two cams I just mentioned, somebody putting in something like this, it's got like, this cam's like 240 duration at 50. This cam, if you put it in the wrong situation, it'll hurt your performance. You may not receive any benefit till right before you're ready to shift, and then it'll fall on its face again when you shift gear. You want a cam to match your gears, your torque converter, and your weight. And if you said, well, I really just want that, I really just want that lumpy sound. You might have to look at a whiplash cam from Hughes or a thumper cam or something like that to get your noise. But if you're trying to get into that weekend warrior type of mentality, and you're trying to set up your car for the first time, and you're going to go ahead and do the 4-barrel header, and maybe add some more compression to it and some better flowing heads, and you got your 410 gears in there, and you know, your 10-inch Street Fighter converter. Well, then if you're that guy, you're probably going to be much happier if you go with a 238 to a 244 duration cam, and you know, you start talking 510 lift or 520 lift cam or 530 lift cam. You're probably going to set yourself up more to be successful, especially if you got a car that weighs maybe 3,100 pounds. But I am not picking the same cam for that van as I would for this Duster. No way. One of the #1 things people do by trying to add power to their car is overcam it. And you want to be cautious of that. Overcamming a car is only cool when you start it up and listen to it idle. It is not cool when you have to cut holes in the floorboard to be a Flintstone car to help yourself out of a hole. So consider, is it for a van? Is it for a Plymouth Duster? What's the intended use? How are you going to drive the car? How often are you going to drive it? And all these things play a part. When you're picking that cam and you can't decide between two of them, and you talk to some people and you're getting recommended, most people are happier when they select the smaller of the two.